Good evening, everybody, and bonsoir to my good friend, Michel
Hello,
Lafleche
Alex.
Francoeur. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing great.
Thank
Nice
you
to
so
see
much
you
for coming
again.
back. Absolutely. We did
Yeah.
a part one a long time ago, and I've been meaning to get you back on, but lots of things have been going on and we haven't got around to it. But we're here finally now. Welcome back. So for those, there's probably going to be a lot of people watching this who didn't watch the first one because it's been a while. So very, very briefly, do you want to perhaps introduce yourself and give a quick explanation as to who you are and your story and why you're here, and then we'll get on to what you've been up to recently.
Well, I'm French Canadian. I live near Montreal and Quebec, and I'm an ex-Scientologist. I was introduced to Scientology when I was 11, and Scientology is the second cult I've known since I was born in another cult. My parents, when we got out of the first cult, were lost, because they were born in the other cult, and so they were searching for answers. They were still, and my father mainly found Scientology, and he brought his 8 kids into Scientology. And I'd say that I'm one of his kids who was attracted the most to Scientology. So I really jumped into Scientology. I was 11 or 12. I joined staff in Montreal at 12. I started doing basic courses. I went in the Sea Org at 12 too. And I stayed a little less than a year in the Sea Org. Then I blew. I had to run in the middle of the night to come back to Canada. I was in Florida, in Clearwater. And then I was a delinquent all my teenagers. I went in a juvenile center until I was 18. Got out of there quite lost. I was a drug addict. I used drug before I joined Scientology. I was really, really confused. At 11, I had been sexually abused, and parental abandonment, and violence, intrafamilial violence. So anyway, I liked Scientology. I jumped into it, and so it was. Then when I was 13, I couldn't go back. When I blew the Sierra, I couldn't go back to the Church of Scientology. And I went in the street. I fell into drugs, and they put me in the juvenile center. I got out of there around 18, and I was still a bit interested in Scientology, mostly because my parents were in it, and I wanted to be close to my father. But I couldn't go back because of my background as a Sea Org member. I had a huge debt, and I had to go the ethic conditions back up. And and when I was 22, they had it was around 93 or 94. They had religious recognition in the United States.
Yeah.
And David Miscavige called for an amnesty. Every Scientologist who were in troubles with the ethic department, or who had huge debts or whatever. I don't know about the money. I think I had to pay my debt, but I was allowed to come back to church. And so I joined again. I joined the Church of Scientology around 22, and I stayed for another 4 years about. I involved myself a lot, and I got out of Scientology around 26, but then I was in and out. I went to university and music, and that took a lot of my attention. I was very happy in music, but after, when I finished music university, I was lost again, and I went back to Scientology when I was 35, but just for 3 days. I don't know how they had me sign another contract, and I
In
ended
3
up
days. Gosh.
No, I always been in contact, because my parents were in Scientology. But at the last time, I stayed 3 days on staff. They sent me in the central file downstairs. In front of the central file, there was an old sauna where they used to do the purif. And there, they will put the PC folders, or everyone who went out of session basket case. They call it the red labels folders. They put a red label on it, and often the person doesn't come back. And they put me in this place to to do some piling of the folder, put it in alphabetic orders and try to. And I realized, I said, "Fuck! I haven't been here for 5 years. They know my reputation because I argued a lot with registers when they run after me for money or things like that. Many times I went out of the academy, clacking the door, and I
Gosh.
was I was not an angel. They know and they put me in there with these folders, and then I see the folders of people. One guy in particular that touched me. The guy ended up in the street, schizophrenic. And I had known the guy when I was 13, my first time in Scientology. The guy was a nice guy.
And just before you continue, I want to say trigger warning for anyone watching this, because a lot of Michel's story is quite traumatic. So
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Switch off now and come back in a couple of minutes. But yes,
no, I'm done with that.
But
I saw many people, many folder there of people that I didn't see for years. They kind of just left Scientology. I never saw them back. And I realized because they were all red label, I realized it's because something happened in session with them. And they probably have, I understood that their mental state was probably affected. That's why when they don't come back with a red flag, red label.
Red tag, yeah.
Red tag folder, yeah. And that's how, after 2 or 3 days, I ran away. I got back out of the Church of Scientology. And then I realized that they had me signing a contract after I was passing with and the bus, the city bus in front of the church. And I'd go like that because I realized that they have a grasp on me. They could control something in my head that they had put years before when I was a kid. And I remembered, how they make me feel guilty because I blew the Sea Org, and one day I had the dream to help to save the planet, and how they could manipulate me. And so there's some sort of PTSD that started, post-traumatic stress disorder, when I passed in front of the Scientology church. So I kept quiet. I just wouldn't go back there. And I lived in the same neighborhood, so I saw Scientologists, I saw the church, and I always felt like shit around there. So one day I left to France. I went in the south of France for 3 or 4 years. And over there, I found back my real personality, far away from Montreal, from the post-traumatic stress disorder. And I don't know, I kind of saw who I was, I wasn't the same anyway. And over there was Scientology again. I found a job in an hotel on the Mediterranean coast in Nice. I went to work in that hotel. The same weekend in that hotel, there was a anti-spikebuster convention. The Scientology was right there in the hotel. And then there I realized, I'm kind of a believer. I love Carl Jung. I don't believe in things that happen for nothing like that.
Right.
Sometimes things happen on your way where you have to decide you go left or you go right. So from that day on, I decided I said these assholes, they're not gonna put me in the same situation. I'm not gonna run away from that hotel because I can't stand these guys that they make me feel that I'm an SP, I'm a bad person, I'm a guy who blew the staff again. That's what Scientology does, They put in your head some beliefs that if you leave a group like that and panic, it's because you did something harm, you're a criminal. When you leave Scientology, when you don't you become antagonist to Scientology, it's because you're an antisocial. That's what they put in your mind. So from that day on, I changed, And then I went to see the director of the hotel. I said, "You often have cult here that comes and do." It was the first time I was really calling Scientology a cult. I said, who are these guys? Do you know what they do? And the director of the hotel, he didn't know what to say. He said, we rent the room to whoever have money,
Yeah.
And but from that day on, I started going on the internet, and that was in 2006. Yeah. And it was starting. Then I saw a video that touched me particularly. It was like 5 or 6 OT. They were and the living room, talking about how they were saying the more they went up the bridge, the more fucked up they became.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd see all sort of thing like that. And I saw this video where I don't know who it is. It was an executive from Flag. She was saying that they had put on the CD they gave to people, there was a firewall. People put the CD in their
They were
computer,
censoring the internet.
and then they couldn't go on St. Petersburg newspapers. They couldn't see everything on Teta. It would block everything. So I became really mad at Scientology, and I took position. And anyway, my trip in Europe really changed me.
Yeah.
When I came back to Canada 2 years and a half after, I went back in my old neighborhood where the Church of Scientology is, but all my friends are there. There's a little coffee across the street from the church where I used to hang out. And I came back, from Europe as a winner because I had a little music career over there, and I had so much fun, and I changed, and I rediscovered myself. And I come back in that neighborhood, and I start feeling like shit again, because the doctrine of Scientology becomes powerful again when I'm in the vicinity of the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's rest stimulation. Hubbard talks about rest stimulation, but Hubbard did not find that. This comes from Freud, and it's much anterior from Hubbard. It's post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
These guys, Scientology had played in my head. I was really confused. So I became more and more antagonistic to Scientology.
Yeah, and I was just going to say very briefly what your journey is. Obviously unique, and everybody's journey is different. However, there are some similarities that a lot of people find in their story of leaving Scientology. And one thing that is very common is being kicked out or leaving and then going back, because Scientology like to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, and then they conveniently just happen to show up at a time when you're vulnerable or you're questioning things, and they just come on, oh, don't worry, everything's changed now, it will all be different, it's worth trying again. And that's just a way they try and get you back in. It's not uncommon for someone to leave, rejoin again. And I think what's really powerful with your story is you've managed to kind of break free of it and say, hey, look, not only am I now no longer in Scientology, I'm going to do something about it. Daniel Chamberlain here is saying, I feel you, Michel, and well done for speaking up and out about it.
Thank you.
It's a huge step to go from.
But there's one thing. I'm sorry. My book in French, I called it From de Secte en Secte. It means from cult to cult.
Yes.
Me, when I was at McGill University, I studied to be an opera singer, and I loved playing theater, and I loved music. I was in my dream, but it was kind of utopic. I was too old to become an opera singer. I was not going to make it. I did a little bit in Europe after, but it was utopic for me. I would go into the music faculty and play the piano and practice my voice and participate to the courses. And so in order to stay in the McGill Faculty of Music, I had to go see a psychiatrist, a psych, because I had problem, I, with my background of drug using and juvenile center, I've been in the street and been all the shit I had lived before. I couldn't make it, but I had a voice to sing. I had a great voice, so they wanted to keep me in the faculty, but they said, you're going to have to go and find help, because I couldn't do my ear training courses. I had anxiety problem, and I couldn't go through the music program. So I went to see a psych. And I remember myself, I was in the staircase, and I said, and I was afraid. I was almost shaking like that. Is the psych, are they going to keep me in there? If I tell them I'm Scientologist, what are they going to do to me? They're going to put a brush into my eyes like a bird that taught me.
Because
a bird told me that the psych do.
And then this is what Scientology do. They just to give a bit of context.
So I was there too. That was
about psychiatry. Yeah,
that was a turning point for me too. I decided that my music career that I was dreaming of was more important than the Scientology. I was at the end of my trip in Scientology. That's another turning point too. And then when I went to see the psych, I saw how helpful she was with me. You know, she never wanted to keep me there. She didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
She didn't want to put me on medication or send me into some mental jail, you know, and whatever. So there I realized that these guys, there are people outside in society that wants to help me. There's not only Scientology. Everybody out there are not out there. So that's a turning point. But the thing I wanted to tell you is when I left Scientology, I couldn't go back into society. I had to find another cult. I had to find a group where the beliefs that had been implanted in me would sound okay. So I would not be in the permanent cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
I went to join other churches. I mean, I ended up with the Brahma Kumaris for a few months. This is an Indian cult where they do meditation that is transcendental meditation that provoke dissociation. It puts you into a trance state. And I went there a little bit, but after knowing Scientology, that was like, it was not interesting for me. After the background I had, this is a stupid cult that tried to put their claws on people with that stupid meditation. That is somebody like me. I recognized like that what they were doing, and I couldn't. So I left, and eventually I went into evangelical church. And because I was a singer, I was into music. I would go in these mega churches where they have big band and stage. And I would sing and with my hands in the air and sing full voice. I would go into a trance state again with the music. And so when I really got out of Scientology is when I got out of all these cults. When I got the religious factor out of my head. And I decided I'm going to live in society again with my feelings. And that really hurt. I went into some kind of psychosis. And it was really hard. Around 2016, when I realized that because of my background of drug addict, one day I stopped drinking and taking drugs. Now it's more than 20 years. I haven't touched anything. But I transferred in religion. The cults, especially Scientology. You have so many processing in Scientology that put you in a pink cloud. It's crazy what it does to you.
Yeah.
And that's what Scientology is about. They're all this. Herbart was a specialist. He was a master hypnotizer, and he was a specialist to put people in a state of trance. And the state of trance is the same thing when you have an inductor, they call it in hypnosis. You put the person in a state of trance, a state of dissociation, and then you can suggest him whatever you want him to do, or you want him to start to believe. But when they put you in a state of trance, this is really, it's great. I remember being in the evangelical church. I thought I was in paradise because of my drug addict background, and because I dissociated when I got abused as a kid. I would do like that in that state of,
And it feels euphoric, but you're in a suggestible state, and that's how cults and coercive groups like Scientology take advantage of you. And one of the dangers of Scientology is that Scientologists probably don't even know that what they're doing is hypnotic. You're told that auditing, Dianetics, all of this is not hypnosis, but actually, if you study hypnosis, you'll realize it very much is.
And Scientology, it's all about that. The TRs. The TR zero confrontation, you spend hours looking at somebody in the eyes. That puts you in the trance state. The purification rundown is the same bloody thing. It's a sweating lodge. It's just a sweating lodge. Like this this guy, the 3 people died in the state, and I think it's in Minnesota, or they went in a sweat lodge with the guy who wrote The Secret, the book. One of the guy he put on a weekend and he put people in a sweat lodge. 3 people died in there.
Oh, gosh.
It's used everywhere. The heat, And Quebec, they put the person on the floor here, and they cover her with blanket and mud and boxes. The poor lady, she died too. But
Sure.
because of the processes of putting your body under the heat, you get into you dissociate, and you think you're in another. When you're in a
Another
trance
world.
state, you
Yeah.
think you're in another world, and
Yeah.
that's what Scientology. That's how they grasp people with the communication course with the TRs.
And also with the purification rundown, which we'll talk about in a second, because you've been doing a lot of work in that field over in Canada. But before we talk about it, I just want to share this. If anyone's watching this and wants to show Michel some love, this is his YouTube channel. It's linked in the description. It's Dissect on Sect. He's got 226 subscribers, and he's doing lots of videos and content. So give him a little bit of some YouTube love and subscribe to his channel there. But beyond YouTube,
I'm not very active on this channel, Alex.
you're still doing video. You're still.
I need people like you. I need people like you to give me interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to go to other people to talk about my story, and it's hard to. I want to thank you for inviting me.
Well,
because and my YouTube channel is a lot in French. It's mostly around my book and my story. But I don't know what's going to happen with that, and that's what I wanted to do with you here today.
Yes.
If there are people listening, they want to do something with me and help me to do videos, or because when I speak alone to my camera, I can't do that. I just can't do a video talking to my camera. I feel I'm like stupid, and I look at it after and I delete it all the time. So this is a reason why I want to talk to you too. I want to talk to the people. Don't hesitate to come and reach me, because I want to do more, but alone by myself in front of a camera, I just can't do it.
It does take a bit of getting used to.
So on my channel, it's all a podcast extractor.
Sure. Nika here is saying, I want to read your book too. I can read French. And this is the thing that I wanted to get onto, that you wanted to talk about, is you wrote and published a book in French about your story, about your experience. And you've been working hard to translate it into English as well, right? So where can people buy your book in French?
They can buy it in French only on Amazon for now. The name is Les Religions de mon Père. Thanks for talking about it. Les Religions de mon Père, de la mission de l'Esprit Saint. But Les Religions de mon Père will bring you to the book. It's not expensive. It's around $20.
Okay.
And but now somebody put in my head the idea of translating it in English, and I said, but there's already about 100 books in English about Scientology. But it says, yeah, Michel, but your book is not about Scientology. Your book is about, it talks about the other cults I joined. My life, it's like, when it's not only about Scientology, it's the first cult too. And it's because my father, when he left the first cult, and that cult, he had been implanted with idea. And he joined Scientology because Scientology, Herbert, suggested ideas that were common from the other cult that he was in. So he would feel good in Scientology because his belief that had been implanted in him as a kid, they were correct in Scientology. It was working. It would fit. So he didn't have too much cognitive dissonance trying to get into society. Sure. And this is what my book is more about. It's going from a cult to another. Like I said, I talk about my story and the Brahma Kumaris in the evangelical church, and I expose in the book a lot. The first cult is disgusting. I expose their doctrine, how they talk about women, what they do to kids, what happens to the family when they leave the cult. That's a Bible-based cult, the first cult. And then I talk a lot about Scientology too, about what my personal experience. Mostly what I lived and why I left, what disturbed me in Scientology, and all these processes from Herbert, how it made me feel great, because I didn't have to deal with all the shit that was in my heart from the drug abuse and the parental abandonment and the intrafamilial violence and all these, that. So with Scientology, I could disconnect and get on a pink cloud until I couldn't go back.
That's what I mean. It feels great when you're in it, and that's one of the things that makes Scientology dangerous. Is you feel great, it feels wonderful, auditing's helping, and all of this, but actually, what it's doing is compartmentalizing in your mind and disassociating you from your feelings, your emotions, so you never actually deal with grief and pain and suffering and this sort of stuff. And that's one of the things that makes it so harmful. But you talk about all of this in your book.
Yeah, and but I talked too about the psychosis when it all came back. How painful it was. I thought I was gonna die. When I stopped dissociating, I stopped going to evangelical church because I had started studying a program of accountability at home, and I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't feel okay if I didn't put Christian music, that talks about heaven and talks about God. I needed to have Christian music all the time to be in that state, that dissociative state. I was singing, and it's almost as if I was doing this in my house, to be how they do in the church. I would do that in my living room. I cannot be on the keyboard while my hands are in the air. It's just an image. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't function anymore. This is that. And then I realized I was completely fucked up. I was freezing my brain with religion. I had stopped drugs 15 years because that's a while ago. I had stopped drugs and boozing 15 years before. But now I was as stoned as if I was on LSD, but with religion. And this is what my book is about. Sure. And I talk about what I had to do to go inside me, and one day to feel better. And to recover. I mean, the words I'm looking. And me, I've been in a recovery program about the drug addiction, and this program helped me a lot.
Great.
Because I kind of I could use the steps. I don't want to talk about because it's anonymous, all these things, and I'm not a representative of that program, but I could use the steps in a certain way to help me to detach from all religion.
And your book is almost sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to bring it back to your book. I don't want to give all of the secrets away so that people still want to go and buy it. So you're translating it into English, and you're almost
it's almost done. In a week or two, I think I should I would like to find I don't know, a few beta readers. These are people that will read the book and tell me what they think, and tell me if they were a publisher, would they publish it? And if not, they try to help me in this bit. I would it's too long, or this bit. They call it a beta reader in the editing world.
Yeah.
And normally I could hire a professional, but I've already invested a lot in all these translate. So if I could find a few people, just reach me on my channel, and I'm going to send them the manuscript. And
so anyone watching this that wants to help Michel with his book, once it's finished being translated into English, drop Michel an email. His contact details are on his channel, or you can email me and I'll forward it to Michel. If you want to help out and be a beta reader, and
they can find me on Facebook too. They can find I have a page. Sorry, I have a page which is Les Religions de mon Père.
Okay.
The name is in French, but I speak English. You can address me in English. You can find my page on Facebook. I think that's for me the best for now.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about this Purification Rundown documentary.
Yes, that was the next topic I was going to talk about. Let me just give a bit of an intro before handing over to you. I covered this in a video previously, but let's just give people a quick rundown. In Canada, there was a documentary called Enquête, which went undercover in the Church of Scientology, Quebec. And as a result of that documentary, a Scientologist staff member, who's also a mechanic, has now been charged with 6 counts of practicing medicine without a license, because he was offering vitamins and the purification rundown as a solution to someone's bipolar disorder. And this is the article that's on Scientologybusiness.com where I talk about it. And Michel played an important part in this because he was in the original documentary, and you've been working with the reporter and with investigators to help bring Scientology to justice in Canada, right?
Yeah, well, often the reporter who is Gaetan Pouliot, I really want to name this guy because he's amazing. This guy is never in. He's not a Scientologist, and he's been working on Scientology for almost 15 years. His first reportage, we say in French, his first paper in a
Report. Yeah.
newspaper, it was in 2014, if I remember well, or he told me the other day. It's about 14 years he's working on
Right.
Scientology, and he really he did a lot. And it's not my first documentary I do with him. There was other stuff before. He calls me often to ask me, "Hey, Michel, do you think I'm right with saying that this like that, or do you remember that person?" And then this is the way I try to help him. And if he wants me to go in front of camera, I'm always willing to do it.
Sure.
And anyway, I want to give him a big thanks because this guy is really changing the things here in Canada for the Scientology.
Mm.
They're in trouble now, and so that's what I do. And me, today there is one thing I want to tell you. I'm not very active as an activist because I have children, young children. I have a family. I have a career, and this alt cult thing, as long as it takes all my time, I'm not out of that.
Mm.
It's still, if I want to be recovered from my journey through religion, if I can call it religion, through cults, at one point, I have to be able to back up and go on with my life. I'm
Sure.
a musician too. I'm a father of 2 kids, and if I put all my time and my energy into my cult militantism, I'm not doing the right thing. Today, my priority is to help, to be there for my kids, to try to explain them what is spirituality, and keep them away from any church. There's no way nobody's going to take them in a church before they can decide by themselves. And not only churches, sometimes it's philosophic movements or other things, And I think this is my main job today, is to try to break the generation pattern that has been, I fell in it when I was born in that family. I want to change this pattern. And
Sure.
this is my main priority today. But as I say, I will always answer present when somebody wants to talk about that. And like you see, I'm still working on my book in English, and I want to put it forward. But I'm not very, very active as a
But
militant.
I think you are underselling yourself a little bit there, Michel, because you may not be active doing it day to day, being an activist, protesting, all this sort of stuff, but you have had a huge impact on Scientology in Canada. Not just with the interviews and the documentary, but you actually were instrumental in a change in the Canadian Constitution that meant that Scientology or all religions can't be taught in schools now in Quebec, and that is a result of your activism. And I just want to make sure that people are understanding that you have had a huge impact.
Well, I suppose I had a little of an impact, but not only me. In 2016, when I first started going on television and talk about my life, and it's because there was a baby who was born from a Jehovah's Witness mother in an hospital in Quebec City. And the mother lost a lot of blood. The doctor wanted to transfuse, and the preachers from the Jehovah's Witness went into the hospital and convinced the girl not to take blood.
Yeah.
And we got so mad. And it's this girl's aunt who started a movement. We asked for a petition. We made a petition to have an inquiry in the government about cults. We never had it, but for that petition, we went on television. We did a lot of interview, not only me, many of us. And that, I think, changed the mentality a little bit here in Canada and in Quebec. Particularly in Quebec, we had a law, which is Law 21, where religion cannot be anymore in public schools and if you're a teacher, let's say, or a police agent, or you cannot wear a hijab or things like that. But it's not in all Canada, because most of the rest of Canada don't agree with our law. But we have put that law in place because also the Catholic Church here had a lot of power in the government. And one day we wanted to take the cross out of the parliament. And it's not only me. I mean, I just played a little bit in that. It's not me, believe me, Alex. It's
But
really
I
the
think
society. It's the French Canadian society here that don't want to hear about that.
I think the key thing as well that it's targeted. It's not banning religion or banning the hijab or banning
No,
it's just banning the teaching of religion to minors in school.
yeah,
And that's, I think, you can have your thoughts whether that's positive or negative, but when it comes to cults specifically, that prevents groups like Scientology starting up schools like they have here in the UK with Greenfields or Delphi in America, where they can indoctrinate children from a very young age when they're suggestible and vulnerable. So actually, this is quite a targeted change in the law that has actually protected children rather than being an anti-religious thing. It's a protection thing.
yeah.
Right?
It's not anti-religious because people are, we still have Catholic churches on Sunday or any churches. I mean, but we became more laïc, just like in France. We're a laïc state, and we reaffirmed that. Here it's laïc. You're not gonna come and change our laws and ask us for all sort of special permission because of your religion or whatever. It's laïc here, and that's it. You want to be part of the society, you need to accept that. And I think because when we had together, we had the first interview, I spoke about that because it was a Muslim guy who went out and preached against Israel, but he used the Quran and cited some antagonistic stuff and violent phrases against Israel, using the book to defend himself, and that went on television. And but the
And
guy,
a lot of Muslims spoke out and didn't agree with that. And
yeah, many people said, no, we don't come here and try and impose your religion on us about.
Sure.
But I'm not a scholar. I'm not a scholar. I'm not into academic, into university,
right.
into. It's really my thing is to share my experience about my cult pattern, my religious pattern, what I understood. There are things I say about the meter that many people won't agree, but today we know what the meter does, and I go and I talk about it in my book, and that's how I position myself as a survivor, not as. But this is one thing I want to tell you. I didn't want to go too much on that subject, but there's been some arguing between YouTubers, about something. This is crazy. I don't know why do people have admiration because that guy went a class 12 auditor. It's just showing me how deeper he went into the rabbit hole. That's it. I don't care. This Guetta Poulotte, and I have so much admiration for this guy who's changing the things here in Quebec. He's a never in. Yeah. What about Tony Ortega? He's a never in. And Paulette Cooper. So this is bullshit. Don't come and tell me, oh, you don't know what Scientology is. You've been in there for 2 months, Or me, I know. I've been a friend with David Miscavige, and I've been on the. This is bullshit.
And we need the help of people who have never been in Scientology to really make effective change. There's not many Scientologists in the world. There's not many ex-Scientologists. I would argue there's more ex-Scientologists than current Scientologists, but still, it's a small group of people, and we need the support of journalists and government.
Here in Quebec, everybody's afraid.
And well, this is the thing. A lot of
Scientologists in Quebec are afraid. I think I'm the only one who goes on television. There was another one a few years ago, but he died. I don't remember. His name is Dubreuil. His family name is Dubreuil. And there is Mitch Brion, who was in the documentary. But everybody's either they're afraid or they're ashamed. They're ashamed to say I've been in the cult, and I was. they took my money and now I'm in trouble and I don't know, everybody, most of them, they will go, oh, Scientology for me was it was just an adventure, it was, I went in there for a few years and now I'm here and everything was fine, and this, nobody wants to go and denounce, and maybe because I was so deeply affected mentally that
But I think
to recover I had to pose action to recover.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. Some people are quite happy to leave Scientology, go about their life and do their own thing and not become an activist. And that's completely fine. But some people really feel strongly about it and become activists. And that's why we need the support of as many people as we possibly can to help take down, and stop the abuse and the harm that this organization is doing. And this journalist that you were mentioning is a key part of that in Canada. And I want to ask you a little bit about that experience, because when we last spoke, the documentary had just come out and you'd worked with him to produce that. And then obviously we had this article, 8 months or so later, now that's come out that shows that, the government are taking action and have charged this guy with practicing medicine without a license. What's your journey been like since the documentary with this journalist? Have you been working quite closely with him on different things?
No, I just heard from him last week. He told me about that. He called me 2 or 3 weeks ago to ask me a question or two, and I helped him to find the right answers. That's about all I'm doing. And then he put out this article. Me, I didn't do very much. I started a new career, so I had to involve myself more professionally. But there's a story, and one day I go into the coffee room at my new job, and what's on television? It was une reprise, when they show a few days after the show about the documentary. It was on television. I see myself, and I got. I went and changed the channel before everybody else arrived. I didn't want them to know. And start talking. That's another thing, that when you do militantism like that, you go on television, or it changed your life, because after people recognize you on the street, and some other people will judge you because you say, why don't you leave people alone? Well, you didn't like it, you had trouble, but leave Scientologists alone. Some people will judge me, and but
quite often those are people who need educating on. Like, I get that a lot in the UK, people saying, oh, who cares? Scientology is just this crazy American cult and there's not many of them. Who cares? And I always say, well, no, you don't understand it. It doesn't matter how many people are in Scientology, or whether it's American or not. It's about the harm that it's doing to people in and around its spheres. And that's the thing, is it's got a lot of money, a lot of power. People are scared to talk about it, and it is doing harm to people. It's not about anything else. It's about trying to stop other people from suffering.
That's it. And if we don't do anything, Scientology is going to get bigger. It's because shows like Léa Remini, or people that goes out, Jason Begg, or people go out publicly and talk about their bad experience in Scientology and denounce it. That's why Scientology is shrinking. Because if there was no militant and nobody denouncing it, they would be all over the place.
Yeah. So someone is asking here, so Nico, is saying, right now, Michel, you're the only Canadian speaking out. Firstly, I want to correct you very, very quickly. There are other Canadians. There's Jeff Beaumont, PTS for Life, and Gabriel Toth, who's Escaping the Controversy on YouTube. They're Canadian. They're speaking out. But they're in English-speaking Canada, and then Michel is in French-speaking Canada. But the question here is, could you tell me the name of the journalist?
These guys, I will. These guys, they're about 50 hours drive from here. They're in west of Canada, so I don't think I'll ever meet them.
Well,
and
Gabriel is now in the east.
Why I wrote? She's where? Where is Gabrielle?
Gabriel's now in the east. She's moved. So Jeff is in British Columbia, Vancouver, and Gabe is over in the east. But she's not as far east as you. She's still in English-speaking Canada.
Probably in
Ontario. I should put you in touch. So you can jump on their channels. But to answer
the guy is Gay. Yeah, his name is Gay Tampouliot.
Yeah. So just to answer Nick's question, this is the journalist. I'll put a link to this article. This is on Radio Canada, the French version.
And you
this
know,
is
here in Canada, we have two different culture: the French Canadian and the English.
sure.
It's really two different. Like I said, you know, in the French Canadian community, we're about maybe 8-9 million now. We put the law 21, and we have a laic state that is the province of Quebec.
Mm.
And there's always been there's a lot of Quebec bashing from the English Canadians, and because of that, we do bash them too. And
Right.
the mission I've given myself is to why I've written this book in French, because I wanted to bring everything I heard in the English community and try and bring it into the French community.
Mhm.
And then when I first started, I imagined myself doing videos about that and this and that. But as I say, just talking alone to a camera, or it's too much. I don't have that energy. And so I did my book. I did my bit. I went on French Canadian television channel. So I'm trying to do my bit in French.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Gaetan too. He's French Canadian. And, you know, they just opened an organization in Paris too. And my message could help there too. But I don't have many contacts, and I'm a bit exhausted, you know. I
Phil
tried to
Jones
do
here.
some stuff, and I tried to do some stuff in French on my French channel and put it forward, but I'm putting money into publicizing my book, and I sell a few books, and you know, I put a lot of energy and money into that, and I wouldn't mind if there was some French podcaster, you know, where I could go and because the thing is, Scientology is international. Now it's shrinking a lot in English, but it's boosting some other places. You know, there are countries where they believe about reincarnation, like Japan, South Korea, or over there, Scientology, they can boom, huh?
Yeah, and in
Because
Africa too. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
so that's what I try to do in the French community, and then you have the Spanish community and other community. And now I'm happy that I can speak English and I can address myself to you.
Mhm.
And I tried, as I told you, I tried to go on other guys' podcasts, but they don't answer me. They don't want me to their podcast. I don't know why.
Well,
Maybe
I'll
they're too
introduce
busy. They
you.
have, but
I'll introduce you to Jeff and Gabe for sure, because they'll, I'm sure, have you on their channel. And Phil Jones is here. He says we do need more Canadian exes speaking out. And I can't remember if Phil, are you Canadian or do you live in Canada? Because I've definitely seen you protesting or talks about you protesting in Canada. I think it was one of Jeff Beaumont's streams in Ontario, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, let me know in the comments. But you know, Phil Jones, you should reach out to Michel as well. And I think the more people that Michel has got contact with, the better. And I think this community online is growing, and your activism, you know, you may not be posting all the time on YouTube, but your activism in the real world is really effective.
I'm there and I'm alive. It's just I don't have the technical skills to go. Make it go as I would like to.
Phil's Canadian. Phil lives in Ontario, Canada.
Okay, hey,
there we go. Reach out.
Thanks for being there.
Absolutely. I want to read some of these comments as well that I've been starring as we go on. Cherie Bay is saying Cherie B, sorry, is saying sending blessings. My good friend Jeremy's here. Hi, buddy. New name is saying loving this guest. And Nika's got a couple of really good comments. L'Église de Scientology, COS, they hit you when you are down, when you're vulnerable. They're pernicus in that way. Absolutely. And that's how they operate, is they try and get you when you're in a moment of...
And then they put you on a pink cloud. They're specialists at having you disconnecting from your emotion. That is the specialty of Scientology. So you get into the end there, and within a week or two, they'll put you on a pink cloud. Tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Make you feel important. Nick is also saying, Michel, you have done many things to shut down Scientology in Canada. You have a family, and that takes priority. And I absolutely agree. Your activism is important and helpful, but it's important to also put yourself first. And that's why I don't think people should feel pressure to speak out when they leave. If they're not ready to, if they've got other things, your family's most important.
But the hardest thing is it's not as much as to speak out. I have no problem to come and spend an hour with you here or with John Attack or any other podcaster I would like to go talk to. It's more about the energy to build the video and to learn how it works and prepare the scenario, and you, Alex, you do a lot of work and it's fantastic what you do. You have this newspaper you're doing, and you're taking care of the pages on Facebook. You're doing all sort of thing, and because obviously I don't think you have kids or something, where
I
I don't
don't.
know. I don't know where you find the time for that, and that's great too. I wish I had that kind of energy when I emerged, and 2016 started writing my book, and I had so much energy, but at a certain point, I had to go into therapy because it's a little bit like your, maniaco-depressive. When you're sick, you get out of cults, you get out of Scientology. Sometimes just the fact that you want to fight, it gives you some kind of energy because you want to fight and you want to expose and you want to tell your story to give it me, the fact that I wrote my life in this book, and it gives a sense to what I went through. It transformed my life into being an SP, as becoming a hero to help other people, and that gives you a lot of energy. But at a certain moment you go down, like the maniaco, then you go down and you have them, because you just start again going inside and retaking your life back. And things like when I wrote the book, there were a period that was very difficult because I wrote all the reject, some things I lived when I was younger, and I was writing the book. I was crying sometime, for a few seconds. It was really painful, and
I had exactly the same experience very, very regularly, even earlier today, because I'm writing my book at the moment. I've been working on it for over a year, and it's hard. It's taken me longer than I thought it would, because it's hard to put yourself back in that mindset and remind yourself what happened to you, and then relive it for the purpose of writing it down. But it is quite cathartic and helps you deal with it and process
it is really therapeutical. But on me, it's been hard. It's been hard, and when you're too much into these painful moments, and it hurts on health, on physical health. It affects. I've learned that lately, the people who are going to depression and never cure it, never go into a therapy or whatever, take care, they can live 10 to 12 years less than others, because the depression affects you physically. People have fibromyalgia, or they're always tired, or so. What we have to deal with is very it's not easy, but sometimes, like I say, it's like the bipolar. Sometimes you have this boost of energy, you get into it. Like when I work in my book, it gives me energy. Even if I find it gives me energy because I'm into the fight and I go. But it's like then the day after, I need to find my energy somewhere else, and
it's about finding boundaries. That's
recovery.
Grinds away your boundaries. You don't have boundaries in Scientology, and one of the big things that you have to learn when you've left Scientology is when to say no. I need to do this now. I need to look after myself. I need to go to therapy, or I need to have some alone time, or whatever. Like during the line, it's okay to have those boundaries. But in Scientology, you don't have those. They're taken away.
Because especially those who went into Scientology as kids, like me, they were motivated by the fact that they were gonna become heroes and save the world and go clear the planet. They give you a purpose that is so powerful, and it gives you motivation, and you think you're going to get recognition for that, and so you go and join the team. You have such. And when I left Scientology, for many years, I still thought I had to participate in a project to save this world, and because it's other ideas that are implanted in ourselves, and then we have, like you say, we have to learn that no, I'm not the savior. I'm here to take care of myself, to appreciate the life I have, take care of my kids, my family. That's it. The savior thing. That's it, because it's gonna kill me.
Yeah, I had that exact conversation with my therapist once. I was like, you know, excuse me, even though I've been out of Scientology, I was like, look, I want to change the world. I've got all these ideas and I've got this ability. And he was like, look, Alex, you're not going to change the world. Not one person is going to. And even if you did, what does it matter? Because there's billions of other planets in the galaxy. And in the scheme of things, there's not one thing you can do that will change life for everybody, even in a small way. The best you can do is try and help people in your own environment and make the best of every single day, and just look at within your own life and just be happy with the work that you are doing rather than striving towards an unachievable goal, right?
Yeah,
And that's
and just appreciate the life that God, I don't know if you believe it, but the life that we have, that's a present that I have, and I don't have to spend it and just to help others. I need to appreciate and because the cult I was into, they tell us that this world is the Satan's world, the first cult I was in, and the evangelical are the same thing, and then you go out there and you can't find the beauty in the world anymore. You look at the nature, but when you change your minding and throw all that bullshit into garbage, you rediscover the world, how beautiful it is, how life is a present we have, and we have to live it. So that's why too that at a certain point I said, okay, this cult thing, it takes me too much. I'm not good at YouTube, and I put too much money into advertising this book. So I said, fuck, and I don't want to use the word. I said, just, and that, and then I started a new trade, and I work on my music. I write songs in French, and I take care of my kids, and so all this stuff. But when somebody like you contact me and said, "Hey, Michel, I'd like to do an interview, or I have some answers about that thing in the church. How do they?" I'm always there. But
amazing.
so anytime you want to meet again, Alex, I'm going to be there. And anyone listening too, if you want to have a chat with me, I'd be happy to go and tell the same story I told you today. It's all around that. And, and the beta readers too, which are if a few person are interested in looking at the book in English, I'd be willing to send them my manuscript, which will be ready in a couple of weeks. I could send them the first half because first half is ready. Because I would like to find a publisher in English, but I don't think that like it is right now. I don't know if I would find a publisher. That's how it is when you write. You need people to give you feedback.
Do the translation, make sure it's all good and it reads okay.
Well, this is all done.
Yeah,
this is all done.
Amazing.
Now it's the other step. It's like because then in French, I had a few people reading it and they told me it's a page turner. They said, I got your book in my hand. I couldn't leave it before I got to the end. That's the best thing a writer want to hear. I wish I could hear the same thing from people that will read it in English.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on a copy. And anyone watching this, if you want to help, be a beta reader for Michel, get in touch. We'll see if we can find some people. That's the book in French, La Religion de mon père, which is the religion of my father. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put a link down below after we finish the stream so people can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, thank you.
Michel, thank you so much for your activism and your work in Canada, and the tireless nature with which you have tried your best to stop Scientology abusing kids and changing the rules and holding them accountable and appearing in the documentary. It's all really helpful, and thank you for that, and thank you for the time coming on my channel for a second time. It was really nice.
It's my pleasure. And one thing I want to say, it's not to be humble, but I did that for my survival. I had to go out and speak publicly, so they don't have the grasp on me anymore. In French we say une emprise. L'emprise sectaire. They get in your head and then they manipulate you. Me, by going public, I said, no, you don't have any power over me anymore. I'm independent, and I'm confronting you. And so I don't have. That's why I did it. I did it for my own survival and for my own health.
What a powerful note to end it on. Thank you so much, Michel. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michel.